don't think crypto is just going to disappear, and I don't think crypto investment is going to disappear. It will just be kind of pushed to the sidelines until such point as everything is sorted out and the market is picked up.
I don't know why they wouldn't have been paid in Monero. At least it's a privacy currency. It's a cash out Bitcoin. I mean, like that already is a headache.
Arguably, it's far more difficult to use crypto than it would be to use cash.
Hey there, cryptocurrency creatures. Welcome to Chain Chatter. Ever feel like the crypto world is a wild roller coaster and you're holding on with oven mitts? Us too, from Bitcoin's latest belly flop to that altcoin doing the cha-cha-cha. We're here to make sense of sense and the senseless. So grab your digital decoder rings and let's make some noise in the blockchain bazaar. Today I'm joined by Brian James and Joanne Price, managing editors here at Being Crypto. So here are today's topics. We're reviewing 5 different topics, and the first one is SBF Trial update, Binance still under fire, the digital euro moves to preparation phase, Ripple could be preparing for an IPO, and Bitcoin used for murder for hire. So let's start with our first piece, SBF Trial update. We're about halfway through the SBF trial, and these are the latest updates. Judge Kaplan is losing his patience, claiming lawyers should do better than this, complaining about both parties. At least 35 properties in the Bahamas were purchased with customer funds, totaling $228 million. SBF's lawyers are asking the judge to provide him with more Adderall so that he can focus on the trial better. Any first impressions on these 3 pieces of information? What do you make of this?
I don't think it's as revelatory as it has been in last week in terms of what's come out. The fact they're using customer funds to enrich themselves, I don't think is a bit of I don't think is a revelation. I think you're all expecting that to come out of the wash at some point. The Adderall thing, I mean, lawyers will always clutch at straws to do the best thing for their clients, but I think we really are scraping the barrel with this one. If that's what he needs to function, then okay, so be it. But really, it just seems at the moment they seem to be dredging through whatever they can to delay the inevitable. But I think we all know which way this is going to go, and we've only got another 2 weeks to wait. So the sooner that comes, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, we all know the crazy things going on with this case. At this point, nothing really shocks anybody. I saw recently, I think it might have been today actually, that they also mentioned that FTX used customer funds to buy back their tokens from Binance. So it looks like they just literally used customer funds to fund the entire business, really. So one giant Ponzi scheme, basically. So I don't think anything really is going to shock anybody until, this guy gets put in jail for a very long time, which, as Joanne says, his lawyer will do what he can to prevent that, I guess. But yeah, nothing surprising at this point.
Nothing surprising for sure. But I will say, like, $228 million in properties. Like, how many properties do you need? I think even for a few people, that's just a lot.
Well, they pretty much they were buying up the Bahamas at one point, weren't they? I mean, their potential contribution to the Bahamas economy was massive. So. It's unsurprising that that was the case, considering they were spending, other people's money to ensure that. But just bizarre, really, the stuff that's coming out.
Do you think this trial will end up in the history books some way or somehow?
I hope people learn from it.
The other question I have is, all the news that come out, it just looks like this guy that was in his 20s and was just spending money like crazy with like no responsibility whatsoever, just, a big joyride. So how did somebody get so much influence so fast with billions of dollars? Like, that's something I just don't understand. Like, how can a person get to that point?
By seducing people with the potential of making huge amounts of money. I mean, it's a very old story, I'm afraid, but... And also, he had this slightly cookie look, which endeared himself to people, specifically people who didn't really know what they were doing. They saw this kid, in inverted commas, and thought, oh, well, he's offering something that we've never heard of before. It must be a good idea. Let's give him loads of money. Ouch.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to any successful Ponzi scheme. It's successful until it's not. You're luring people with, all this money that you have, buying properties, opening offices overseas, sports brand partnerships and deals, worth 500 million plus, and then roping in celebrities. Eventually, it's just this look that, wow, these guys know what they're doing. They've got all this money. They're making so much money. They're doing something right, where in hindsight, they're not even using, company profits. It's simply Ponzi scheme money at this point. So it's just that look of success that I think also helps everyone think, wow, okay, they're doing something right. Let's get involved, and this was the ultimate outcome, I guess.
So just personal branding has a lot to do with it.
Personal branding and greed, really. I mean, not just on the FTX side, but on the side of investors, because if you start waving big figures under the noses of people who want to make even bigger figures, then these things can happen. So, and with it being such a new style of business as well, where the risks are always going to be greater, then that becomes even more attractive to people who want to make lots of money.
Digging deeper a little bit, what are the repercussions on a bigger scale, especially for like the normal person? Is this like making the crypto industry less credible for people, to invest in Bitcoin and to use Web3, all that? Is this kind of like a bad situation to be in on a bigger scale?
Well, I don't think you can view it positively, but by the same token, nor is it fair to judge the entire industry on a couple of bad apples. I think what it does do is brings into sharp focus the likelihood of some form of legislation coming into effect at some point soon. Obviously, different countries are at different stages, and that threat, of course, will of course keep the current exchanges on their toes. I mean, like I said, you can't really blame other exchanges for what FTX and some smaller players got involved.
I totally agree that you can't just rest the whole industry on one thing. But I have, say, this Shark Tank investor, Mr. Wonderful, I forget his name. He used to be super big on FTX and super pro FTX, and then it went down, and now he's just saying that he knew it all along and that it wasn't the best investment. And he's now having some sort of anti-crypto stance as well, with the wording that he's choosing, just staying away from the whole mess. So I'm just curious to know, if investors and the average person are going to shy away from crypto just because of this thing.
I think there's 2 points to raise there. Firstly, it's once bitten, twice shy. So, if you've already had a bad experience, you're unlikely to want to repeat it. But also, we have to look at the competition. AI is now the new hot kid in town. So a lot of attention will be diverted in that direction, and also a lot of the potential funding is more likely to flow into AI for the time being than it is into crypto. Of course, that will change. Who knows? In 2 years' time, when the bond market is back in swing, it will be interesting to have this conversation then, because I'm sure it will change dramatically. But we work in cycles, or we work in themes. So we have, I think we had this chat a few weeks ago about, it was NFTs, and then it was metaverse, and now it's, we work in these kind of themes of business themes, and once they've kind of gone out of fashion, there'll be something else to replace them. But I don't think crypto is just going to disappear, and I don't think crypto investment is going to disappear. It will just be kind of pushed to the sidelines until such point as everything is sorted out and the market is picked up as it will and as it did in the past.
From one exchange to the other, Binance still under fire. There are 3 major updates from Binance this week. So the first one is Stephanie Caballerios, the executive director of Binance France, has left her post, becoming the latest executive to leave. I think we're about 10 or 12 people that have left this year so far. Also, U.S. customers will not be able to withdraw USD anymore, but will have to convert to stable coins instead if they want their money in fiat somehow. Also, new users in the UK cannot be onboarded due to new regulations. My question here is, like, we have given Binance the benefit of the doubt. We've talked about them quite a bit now, but more trouble keeps coming in week after week. Should we pay closer attention to what's going on, or is it just a coincidence? I mean, we can always say it's a coincidence, but it seems like more and more stuff keeps coming in. So I don't.
Yeah, I think to lose one or two senior executives may be unfortunate. So to lose any more is pretty careless. And there's got to be some reason behind it. What that reason is, I wouldn't like to speculate. But yes, you're quite right. We did give them the benefit of the doubt a few weeks ago, and it would appear that maybe our unvoiced suspicions at the time were probably accurate. But we have to again wait and see. It's a fast-moving, fast-paced environment at the moment. And obviously, Binance, world's biggest exchange, is yet again facing difficulties.
Yeah, but this goes back to the last time we spoke about this with somebody high up in Binance leaving, and obviously Binance France, or whatever they're called over there, are also facing regulatory probes again now. She's been there since April last year, as far as I remember. So she's been there for nearly a year and a half, or just about a year and a half already. And she actually was employed as head of legal. So you could say, was maybe she not doing her role correctly? Did she fail in getting Binance, regulated within whatever regulatory framework they have in France? Was her job, did it reach its max capacity? What she could do there? There's a number of things. I mean, it's we can speculate all we want when people leave their roles, but as I keep saying, people leave their roles at companies all the time. So, exactly, she could be heading off to, who knows? Whatever, another exchange, maybe, I don't know. But I think just to speculate, because somebody's left, after a year and a half, starting off as head of legal, and leaving as a director now. She's kind of grown within a year and a half. So yeah, she could have quite easily been picked by, who knows, maybe an AI company, for example. It's a director role at an AI company. So I think speculating on people just simply leaving is as I said before, is a bit brash, I guess, to assume that Binance is in trouble. Obviously, Binance in Europe is going through all these issues with all the regulatory, frameworks within all the different countries, but I don't think at this point yet it's anything to be concerned about.
In the case that Binance does fail, what other exchange could be a safer bet?
Outside of the US, you mean?
Anywhere. It could be outside of the US, I guess. Why outside of the US?
Because I don't know. I mean, Coinbase. They're also having a bit of a rocky patch, but I don't think they're any more or any less trustworthy than any of the other exchanges, to be honest.
Say that if you're going to keep it, on a centralized exchange, then if I'm thinking from my standpoint, anyways, perhaps an exchange based in the US. Hoping that maybe the US could sort of regulate their exchanges better. But if Binance failed and collapsed, personally, I wouldn't keep a single crypto on an exchange at that point. At that point, it's fully decentralized, trading on decentralized exchanges only, keeping my coins, in a hardware wallet, and not messing around with an exchange. So if Binance fails there, we got big problems, I think. There's no global number one or number two, rather, that I could think of, off the top of my head, that I would put my coins into if Binance collapsed.
Any reasoning behind that? Why hardware wallet is safer than centralized exchange?
Yeah, well, I mean, my hardware wallet can't collapse. It's not a Ponzi scheme. It can't be. I mean, it can be hacked. But if you got the right security protocols in place, then your funds are safe. You know what they always say: not your coins, or what was that saying? Not your
keys, not your coin.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So with Binance, they've got my keys and my coins. If they get hacked, my coins are gone. With me, at least, I'm held responsible for the security of my own funds. At least that way I know the US isn't going to come and, take my funds. So, and I feel like we've kind of moved into that quite a bit this year after FTX. essentially collapsing and losing billions. I think decentralized exchanges are picking up trading volume quite a bit now. Uniswap's just implemented trading fees. So I think if Binance collapses, there's no safe haven really at that point. It's kind of, every man for himself really.
Digital euro moves to preparation phase. The European Central Bank advances to the preparation phase of a digital euro central bank digital currency, also called CBDC. The project is starting after a 2-year investigation. The digital euro is envisioned as a universally accessible digital currency, offering high privacy and instant payment settlements. The next phase of this project is set to begin very soon on November 1st, 2023. It involves finalizing the digital euro rulebook and selecting platform providers. In a more general sense, are there any pros or any cons to CBDC?
Personally, I don't think it's a bad thing. I feel like paper money is kind of outdated. At least I personally don't carry cash anywhere. I tap and pay with Apple Pay everywhere I go. I think we're going to get to a point, in the next 10 years where nobody's really carrying around, paper money. Everything will be digital. It's kind of if you kind of think about it, why do we even carry cash around? What really is the purpose when we can tap and pay just about, everywhere you go? So we've spoken about CBDCs, gaining adoption, and clearly Europe are not playing around and they want to get this sort of over the line sooner than later. Once again, we've also spoken about the US, are they adopting, a digital dollar? I think they're dragging their feet. They're not in a hurry to get anything over the line, but clearly Europe are going to be, if they do get this, approved and I suppose adopted throughout Europe, it could be, who knows? I think there'll be more pros than cons, but I can't really say for sure.
Are there any things we should be worrying about? I've heard that privacy could be an issue or any other factors, instead of the government controlling your assets or your money, basically. Is that something people should be
I would say yes. I don't think there's going to be any privacy at this point, but what privacy do you have with your bank account, If you're committing fraud or you're laundering money with your bank, they're going to find out. And the same sort of things will probably happen with the CBDC. It'll be run by, a central bank. It's not really going to have anything to do with privacy, really. It's just going to be ease of use, just like you use your bank account. I don't think we'll see any major changes once it's implemented. But they'll definitely have complete control over, over your funds. I would imagine there will be a backdoor to maybe pause transactions or block accounts or stuff like that, which I'm sure will have some, some backlash. But, that's how you govern your people, I suppose. So that wouldn't surprise me.
Also has implications for tax revenue as well, because they'll be able to know exactly what you're earning. So if you do start doing silly things on your tax return, they'll soon find out, I guess.
But also it could be easier to get your tax returns, and get some extra money from the government or something. I think it has really good potential, although I will say that I would trust more CBDC from the West, from a Western country, than, a CBDC from, let's say, China or Russia.
I wouldn't agree with that too. But look, like you said, we'll make things a lot easier in terms of, cross-border payments, transaction fees. If Geraint wants to pay somebody in Italy, he doesn't have to go through some, winding long process to do it through his bank and then have bank fees paid. The exchange rate could be ridiculous. So there could be a lot of pros to this, instant settlement across borders. Simply by inputting an address or however they'll do it, maybe it'll be like an ENS name. I think, and then obviously, the government will have their benefits too, being able to see how much you have in your account, what you're using the funds for, who you're sending the funds to, are you sending it to, a terrorist organization? So there'll be perks, there'll be pros, there'll be cons, just like everything in this world already, so.
I didn't know that Geraint had friends in Italy.
So many things you don't know about me.
Next one. Ripple could be preparing for an IPO. Ripple Labs' new job listing for shareholders communication senior manager sparked IPO speculation among users. An IPO marks the initial sale of a company's stock to the public. Before an IPO, the company is typically privately owned and financed by investors like its founders and venture capitalists. If true, how can Ripple benefit from this? Is this a good thing, basically?
To be honest with you, I didn't really cover the story. I heard about it, but until the SEC drama is settled, I don't plan on seeing. Well, I don't expect to see an IPO from Ripple anytime soon. To be honest, especially in the States.
No, I think that's an interesting point. Maybe this is what they've got lined up in the belief that they win. Obviously, we don't know, but I mean, if it gets an IPO, it's on the same basis as any other company that has an IPO. They use it to raise finance, and it's probably a slightly more secure, traditional way of doing it than through other routes. So I guess in many respects it kind of makes sense. Also, you could argue it legitimizes them. It stops them from becoming just another crypto business and actually takes them into the financial mainstream. Maybe that's part of their plan. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, certainly advertising for a shareholder's communications manager does imply that they're planning something. But like Ryan, I don't think it's going to happen immediately. But it will be interesting to see what happens as and when we get a result from the court case.
We've also seen a downward trend of Ripple's, the value going down. Do you think that if Ripple does IPO, will this give a much needed push for the value to go back up?
That's kind of tough to answer. I'm not really sure what we would expect from the price. I mean, sure, the idea of launching an IPO and successfully launching one would be bullish. Obviously, that would be on the back of winning the SEC case, which would then again also be bullish for price action. But similarly to Coinbase's share price when they launched off the IPO, the price literally nuked consistently. I haven't looked at that chart in a while, but short term, yeah, definitely bullish for XRP, I suppose. And I think Ripple do have a lot to offer in terms of their technology. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a CBDC that runs on the back of Ripple Ledger technology. Anybody that's transacted using XRP will see how quick it is, how cheap it is.
Well, there's rumors that the French are looking at XRP. They're looking at Ripple for that very purpose. So, yeah, I mean, I think underlying everything is the general state of the crypto market. So obviously, XRP had its boost when it had its good news the other month, and it's dropped since then. But you can argue everyone is having a rough time at the moment. So until we're back on track and the whole market is picking up in general, then we're going to expect this chop or drop, slow drop.
Okay, and the last topic is Bitcoin used for murder for hire. A doctor in the state of Georgia pleaded guilty for hiring a hitman to kill his ex-girlfriend. He sent $24,000 worth of Bitcoin and one time accidentally sent it to the wrong address. However, his constant posting on a forum to check the status of the operation ended in the FBI finding him before it could be carried out. So, of course, a very sinister plot for sure. It kind of seems to me like this was pulled from a movie of some sort. In theory, would using crypto be a safe bet for crime? Is this like an okay way of doing crime?
Well, I wish I had the statistics to hand, because this is an old trope that keeps rearing its head every year or so, and it's how much of crypto is used for illicit purposes, and it's way less than people think it is, and it's certainly a lot less than the US dollar. So if you're hell bent on having someone knocked off, then you're going to do it, whether it's with crypto or with cash. Doesn't really matter. There's always going to be a way of achieving it.
I think it's the same thing that Joanne says, is it's almost more painful trying to hide crypto or cash it out than it is just to get paid in cash. Also, like, I don't know why they wouldn't have been paid in Monero. At least that's a privacy currency. It's a cash out Bitcoin. I mean, like, that already is a headache. I would imagine you have to cash that out to an exchange that you could withdraw into your bank accounts. KYC is needed there. Impossible to hide your identity. So a bit of an odd one. I think it's more of a pain in the backside for people to try and get paid in crypto to commit fraudulent activity. But of course, there are people doing it. But I don't think, like as Julian says, it's probably not nearly as bad as as using banknotes.
I read a while ago that just a very small percentage of crypto is used for illegal activity. So like don't quote me on it because I don't know the exact number.
I seem to recall I think it was like 2 or 3%, and the US dollar was 9 or 10%. There was a big difference between the two, and it completely, killed that belief that a lot of people had that crypto was being used for illicit purposes. I mean, the whole purpose of having something on a blockchain is you can trace it. So arguably, it's far more difficult to use crypto than it would be to use cash.
Great. So that is all the topics we have for today. Thank you for joining, and see you next week.